Now we are 10 games into the season, it's probably time that I actually do my championship table predictions. Hello guys and welcome back to another video on the channel, and today's video is the first championship video of the season. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you are new for more championship content. Right, let's get into these predictions. I've decided that I'm going to use Tier Maker for this video. A quick disclaimer, I'm really glad I waited until after the transfer window because some signings have made a massive difference in my eyes. So the first team which we are going to talk about is Birmingham. Looking at the squad, I think it's enough to stay up in the championship. I think they've got the strike power, you got Deeney, you got Hogan. The fact that they managed to sign Chong on a permanent transfer was ridiculous, and I think on his day, if he is fit, is an unbelievable player at this level. And they also signed Bilic from Derby, who is a defensive midfielder, who's probably one of the best defensive midfielders in the league. If he can also stay fit, you know I predicted Birmingham to finish much lower in the championship table, but if their key players can stay fit, they could go a lot higher in the table if they really want to. Next up we have Blackburn. Diaz and Dak are going to be so important for Blackburn this season. Without those goals from those two particular players, I just don't see Blackburn even having a good season. I've just thought they just have a normal boring season. Watching them play against my team Luton, it was just a really boring display, and I don't see how they would get into the playoff places performing like that. Obviously, yeah, it's still early stages, but I just don't see anything good happening with Blackburn this year. I think another boring season is going to happen, and obviously with the new manager as well, maybe it's going to take a little bit more time to try and push for those playoff places. The next team which we are going to talk about is a team that obviously I don't think will have the same impact as what they did last year, mainly because of the manager change with Alberton now being the manager of Blackpool, and also Bowler leaving as well, a key player for Blackpool. I think there's enough in that squad to stay up, but I just don't see them having a very good year. And I think for Blackpool fans, you know, second season in the Championship, maybe that's just enough. I don't know, but I think a lot of fans want progression, and I just don't see Blackpool getting that progression. Bristol City is the next team which we are going to talk about. I don't think they're good enough for the playoff places in my eyes. I think they are going to be a much better side compared to last year. I think Pearson's got his style of play finally on the group of players, and they've got some really good players within that side. They've obviously taken one of Luton's best players from last season in Kyle Naismith. He's probably vital in the system which they play. They've got a good goalkeeper in Bentley. I really like Bentley. I know he gets maybe a fair bit of criticism, but I really like him. Naki Wells, Wyman up top. You know, you've got Conway, Alex Scott as well. So they've got some great players within that side, and if they can go on a consistent run of form and beat the teams around them in the league, and you know, beat the teams that are most likely going to go up, then I don't see why they can't get into those playoff places. But for me, I just don't think it's enough quite yet to claim a playoff place this season. Isn't it nice to see Burnley play a different style of football? Honestly, I really like this attacking style of football which Company is now playing at Burnley. I think that if you actually look at Burnley's squad, it's got a mix of pretty much everything. It's got Premier League experience, it's got really good youngsters that have really good potential, it's got some foreign players that, you know, have a little bit of flair about them, and the squad's really good, and they've got players there, in my opinion, that will claim a playoff place for Burnley this year. I just don't think they're as good as the two teams which I think will go up from the Championship this year, and that's why I think Burnley will claim a playoff place. Now the first team which I think will go down is Cardiff. I just think with the manager change recently, Morrison being sacked, at this moment of time as I'm recording this video, I haven't seen a change of appointment just yet. They signed round about pretty much like 18 players in the summer, so they didn't really give Morrison enough time to really, like, you know, settle his style of play. Some Cardiff fans may disagree with that. I just don't think that's enough time. 18 players in the summer, he kind of needs players to gel a little bit more. Maybe in the next before the World Cup, if the results stayed the same, maybe then make the decision then. But I thought it was a little bit too early to get rid of him. And because of that, I don't know who they're going to bring in. And looking at the Cardiff squad, I don't see goals in it. And goals win you football matches, and I just don't think Cardiff will win enough this year. Although Coventry haven't started this season off brightly, obviously with the stadium, playing majority of their games away from home, I think that squad is still good enough for a mid-table finish this year. I don't think they're going to get near the playoff places because how poor their defence is. Their defence is really bad. It's an Asian defence as well. They let one of their centre-halves go to Blackburn, which I don't know why, when they really need a good, solid defenders within the side. But they will score goals. You know, that the big lad up top, he caused Luton so many problems in the game which I watched, and Coventry can keep him in January. They will have a solid mid-table finish. The second team which I think will go down, and I actually think will do a Barnsley, is Huddersfield. Huddersfield, compared to last year, key players have gone, manager change, obviously something's happened from the owners to the manager, and then the manager who's replaced the current one from last year has now been sacked. It's not looking good for Huddersfield, it really isn't. Just like Cardiff, I just don't know where they're going to score their goals, and look at the results so far and the performances, it doesn't look good. They really do need someone to come in and try and get the best out of that group of players, but I don't know who's going to do it. David Wagner has, you know, there's been a few links there. Who knows, but Huddersfield, for me, I just don't see them staying up. I really don't, and I do think they're going to do a Barnsley. Next up we have is Hull. Spent a lot of money in the summer. New owners have come in, you know. I think all the fans were in good spirits for the season, but somehow are still bottom half of the Championship table. Maybe it's just going to take a little bit of time for things to gel, but I just don't think Hull will have as good of a season which they all thought at the start. I think a lot of fans thought maybe, yeah, we can push for a top 10, push for some push for the playoffs. I just don't think it will happen this year. I do think goals are going to be easy to come by for Hull, and that's already been shown so far this season, but as we can tell, the defence is the problem, and they need to sort that in January in order for them to have, you know, a better season. The next team is my club, Luton. I do think we are in a false position at this moment in time. I do think we should have had a lot more points than we currently do, and we're not even out of first gear yet. I think for us, a lot of players haven't clicked yet, and that's the reason why we are currently where we are in the Championship table. I do think we are going to get into those playoff places. Call me biased, you know, I just think we are a much better team compared to last year. We've got better players as well. We're not just relying on one man to score the goals, which we did last year. So, and he hasn't even scored yet this season in Elijah Adebayo. Our top man has been Morris this year. So, if Elijah can get scoring and some of the players can get clicking in the midfield, we will have a great year. And I don't see why we can't repeat last year, especially when we can beat teams who are probably going to be up there this year. Sheffield United, we should have actually won 3 points at home against them. So, I do think Luton will have a great year. Next up is Middlesbrough. Now, I know they are bottom half of the Championship table and near the relegation places, but I do think they should be in those playoff places come the end of the season. Wilder, hopefully, will get things working. That squad is not, well, it's too good not to be in those playoff places in my eyes. I think just like with Luton, I don't think things have quite clicked yet for Middlesbrough, and when they do click, that's when you're going to start seeing them going on a run of form and beating teams week in, week out and climbing up that Championship table. Next up we have another solid Championship side, which I just think are just going to have a solid Championship season. Millwall, defensively, I don't see a problem. However, it's the goals department. I just don't see many goals getting scored. Obviously, with Wallace leaving Millwall, I don't think they've replaced him properly, and I feel like they need a goal scorer. Although Afobe in the past has been a goal scorer, I just don't see him being the goal scorer this year. Next up is a team which I think will just go back straight up, and yeah, you guessed it, it's Norwich. Honestly, yeah, they are a definition of a yo-yo club. Really, their recruitment needs to improve. Honestly, when it gets to the Premier League, I just don't know what's happening. I know they don't want to spend money, I know they don't want to overspend, but if you're not going to overspend, which is fine, then you need to recruit well. So they need to really look at that, because recruitment-wise, it's just not been good enough for Norwich, especially when they go up. You know, the squad's too good for the Championship every single time. With Dean Smith at the start of the year, it did have a little bit of a blip, but now they've hit the run of form and everything's working and clicking. And I just think that squad's just too good to be a Championship side. Next up we have is Preston, and they were really hard to predict this year. We all know what happened at the start, you know. Just didn't want to let in a goal, but they can't score goals. That's the problem, and they don't have a goal scorer. And the Preston fans, they're not happy with the owners. The owners have not really invested within the squad enough. You know, they've got Troy Parrott, who isn't a goal scorer in my eyes. He needs about like 8 chances to score a goal, and that's been Preston's pretty much story being in the Championship. Over the last couple of, I'd say 5 years actually, they just don't have a natural goal scorer. Once they get a goal scorer in, they are going to be in a shout of getting into those playoff places. But I don't think the owners have invested enough within the squad. So for me, it's going to be a really boring season. Ryan Lowe for me is a great manager as well, but I'm sorry, where are the goals going to come from? QPR was another hard one to predict as well. New manager in the summer. I think they're a good side, but I just don't think there's enough within the side to go up. They will score a lot of goals. It's the defence that, it gives me 50-50 thoughts on whether or not I think they can push for a playoff position. Although I have QPR much lower in the Championship table, at the end of the video, I do place QPR between the 7th to 12th category. Every single year, I predict Reading to go down, but this year, it's the first time I haven't. Paul Ince has done a fantastic job with Reading so far this season. He's managed to grind out wins and get results. Obviously, the aim for Reading this year is to stay up. We all know what happened at the start of the year. During the summer, I guarantee there were Reading fans not predicting a good year, but they're doing really well. But I do think, all those wins will slowly stop gradually over the season, and they will slowly drop down the Championship table. Before Paul Warne left to go to Derby County, I actually had Rotherham to stay up. But now he's left, I don't think Rotherham will stay up in the Championship this year, and they complete the 13, which I think will also go down from the Championship. I think Paul Warne, he managed to get all the players clicking, he managed to get the best out of them, and if Rotherham want to stay up, they need to find a manager who can literally repeat what Paul Warne was doing. I just don't think they're going to get the right man in. I could be wrong, and I could be wrong massively here, but he had a really good special bond with those group of players, and I understand why he went to Derby. Derby's going to have a bigger budget, they are a bigger club as well. We don't, as fans, we don't like admitting that, but they are. So I understand why he's gone, but I think those group of players worked really well under him, and I just don't see another manager able to repeat that. So I do think Rotherham will slowly go down the Championship table and go down. The second team which I do think will get promotion to the Premier League is Sheffield United. Sheffield United for me have been the best side I've seen so far this Championship season. The way they're playing their football is the same as Burnley really. They've got a mix of really good Premier League players there, very experienced Championship players as well, a mix of youth in there as well. It's really exciting to watch Sheffield United play. Paul Heckingbottom has done a great job. I think when he took over, a lot of fans were like, what on earth is this appointment? But he's done a great job, and I can't really fault him on what he's done at the club. And I do think he will take Sheffield United back to the Premier League. The best thing Stoke did was appoint a really good Championship manager, and that was Alex Neil. Now, if Stoke do not improve, there is something wrong in that football club. They've had great managers over the years, whether they like it or not. Gary Rowett, Nathan Jones, Michael O'Neill, they are good managers. They have been successful elsewhere. So to not be successful at Stoke, something is not right. And if Alex Neil can't be successful at Stoke, something's definitely not right at that club. Don't know what it is. Alex Neil, he's going to get time. He's going to get given money. I don't think it's going to happen this year. But if he can build a team ready for next year, then Stoke could be a real good force for next year and one to look out for. But right now for this season, I don't think he can improve things that quickly in order for them to have a really good season. With Alex Neil leaving to go to Stoke, what do Sunderland do? They appoint a manager who knows the Championship really well in Tony Mowbray, and who's done a fantastic job as well since he started life at Sunderland. The players, he's got them playing really good football. He did that at Blackburn as well. He just couldn't get Blackburn over the edge towards the end of the season. That's when things started to go wrong. So maybe Sunderland will have a really good, 75% of the season, but the final 20%, 25% is when it's going to go wrong, and that's when Sunderland will start to lose games. I'm not too sure, but I think they've done really well, and for Sunderland, it is all about staying up. Just like Preston, Swansea also haven't invested in that squad enough, in my eyes. They've had great managers over the years who have achieved above expectations, but there's not enough money within the team. That team needs a few more players in certain positions, and once it gets those players, with the style of football which they are playing at Swansea, they could achieve great things in the Championship. But because there isn't the money there for Russell Martin to play with, he's he has to deal with players who can't really play his style of football to the best of their ability, in my eyes, and that's why I don't think Swansea are going to have as good of a year as, you know, which Russell Martin probably would have hoped for. The style of football is pass, 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 you know, score that perfect goal, but I just don't think the players, especially all of them, are not suited for that. And that's when the tactical side of things with Russell Martin maybe needs to change just to help them grind out wins and results. Next up, we have Luton's rivals, Watford. I don't think Watford are good enough to get into the playoff places this year. Reason why, I think they will sack the manager. Maybe they have 2 manager changes, maybe 3 manager changes throughout the season. It's very known that Watford just love changing managers, and I don't know why Edwards even took the Watford job. He should have stayed up Forest Green in my eyes, because he is not going to get given time. And I think it's still really too early on how well of a coach he actually is. Yes, he got Forest Green up, you know, first time of asking, but there's not really, I don't think there's a definite answer on how good of a coach he is just yet. With Watford this year, I think you've seen it in spells that, you know, they are really poor, and then at spells that they can be really good. Obviously, great news for Watford is that they've kept their good players, you know, Sarr, Pedro, you know, but will they go in January? That is the question. If they all go in January, then Watford are going to struggle in the second half of the season. But if they can keep them, just like they did in the summer, then they could squeeze into those playoff places. But I don't obviously want them to. But yeah, I can just see them having multiple manager changes, and it's going to impact the squad like it has done in the Premier League. Exactly the same with Middlesbrough. I think West Brom are also in a false position and should be doing it a lot better. I think they haven't clicked yet. You know, recruitment for West Brom has been absolutely brilliant. Swift and Wallace within the side. The lad from Salford, I forgot his name, but he's a very good attacking player who will score a lot of goals. The squad, there's goals within that side, there's creativity within the side. I also think at the back, yes, apart from a few key moments in games, they can fall asleep a little bit, but I do think it's a solid enough back line to get a playoff position. It's the goalkeeper department which is a key problem for West Brom. They've got Palmer, who's the backup choice, who Luton actually had on loan last year, so I know a little bit about him. He had a great year at Lincoln and performed really well, so I don't understand why they don't give him a go, give him a run of games. I think he's more than capable of doing a good job with West Brom. But Button right now isn't really performing as a good championship goalkeeper, so I think that is an area of concern for West Brom. And also Steve Bruce, you know, he knows the championship really well. He's won multiple promotions from this level, so he's very experienced, so he should know he needs to make these key important decisions in order for West Brom to climb up the championship table. But I do think they will do. If they don't, then goodbye Steve Bruce, because that squad's not good enough to be a bottom half championship side. And the last team which we are going to talk about is Wigan. Wigan have done a fantastic job so far this season in the championship. I think they're grinding out results. You know, they've used the same squad from last year. I think they're recruited well in the summer, and the manager, he's getting the best out of the players, just like what Paul Moore was doing at Rotherham. He's doing exactly the same at Wigan. They don't play the prettiest of football, but they get results, and that's what matters, and I do think they've got enough in their side to stay up. So there you have it, guys. That is the end of today's video. Hopefully you did enjoy listening to my predictions. Drop a comment down below of your predictions on where you think certain clubs will finish in the championship. Don't get mad, you know, I'm not expecting every single person to agree with me. These are just my opinions on how I think the season will play out. But yeah, guys, that is the end. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Drop a like on the video if you did. It means a lot to me, guys. If you can drop a like, it makes the video perform much better. Subscribe if you are new. It is free to do so. Don't forget to follow me across my social media if you haven't done already. And I'll see you guys in the next video.